Hello and welcome to Untwist Your Stitches, a Flosstube channel about my crafting adventures in cross stitch, sewing, quilting, and all other things that I find to endeavor into. Today is going to be Flosstube number 7, and it's a special edition. I had not planned on doing this, but during my time of delving into things that needed to be packed for our trip, or our move actually, I found something that I have previously done, and I wanted to share it with you. It took me several years to complete it. At the time, I was raising 2 small children, doing all the things with them that you do, going to different sporting events, taking them to friends' houses, going to the beach, all those things that you do as a parent when your kids are growing up. So this project took me, I believe it was 16 years. It might have been a little less than that, but it took me a long time to complete. It wasn't the only thing I was working on at that time. I was also, a full-time employee at the school district, and my time was limited between work, children, husband, and all the things that you do as parents. So I wanted to do this as its own floss tube, because the things I'm going to tell you about it and whatnot, it would, if I put it on with a regular floss tube with whips and haul and all that kind of stuff, it would be way too long. And I wanted to give you the full benefit of what I did with it. Now, I took some notes when I found this, and so I may have to look at my notes while I'm showing you these things, so please be patient with me if I'm having to read something to let you know what was going on that I wanted to show you. My daughter, growing up, I wanted to make her a quilt of different cross-stitched patterns that I had. And it was kind of a joke to her at times because she was a little pistol growing up. There are many stories that I could tell you, but just to give you an idea of the personality that she had, one day we were outside talking to my husband and his boss at the time. And it had been raining for a while. And my daughter loved to wear dresses all the time. She was very much a girly girl. And she always had her frilly little dresses on and whatnot. And like I said, it had been raining for a while, so there were all these different mud puddles around. And she was bored with the talking and just wanted to go home. So she kept running off over into the mud puddles and kicking at them and this and that. And I kept saying, come on, get over here, stay away from the mud. We don't want you to be all dirty when you get home. And I told her that like a couple of times. And the last time that I told her, she turned around and she looked me straight in the eyes, and she fell backward into this great big huge mud puddle and did, how you do the snow angels? Well, she did a mud angel, and she was soaking wet, mud everywhere in her hair, on her coat, on her dress, in her shoes. everywhere. And she's laying in this mud puddle, flapping her arms and laughing like she's just something. Well, it didn't help that my husband's boss thought she was hilarious, and he is laughing and coughing and choking and just carrying on like this is the funniest thing he's ever seen. So this is the type of personality that my daughter has. And I told her when I first started working on this that the reason that I was picking angels to make is because that would be the closest she would ever be to an angel. So that is the reason why all of the patterns in this quilt that I made for her are angel patterns. The majority of them are MarBek Angels. There are, let's see, let me get my notes out so I can tell you exactly, because I've written it all down. And I should have been more prepared in my book, but here we go. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Excuse me, I can't get my page to turn. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There are 12 MarBek Angels. There are 2 black Swan flower angels. There is 1 Mary Maxim angel. And there is 1 Janlynn / Stoney Creek angel. And I will give you more information about them as I show you each square on the quilt that I made. The other thing that you will figure out as I'm showing you this is my daughter's favorite color happens to be purple. So there will be a lot of purple colors within the pictures that I'm showing you. So we're done with waste canvas on cotton fabric. The first one is a MarBek pattern. It was called Angel's Prayer, and it was done with 14 count waste canvas. And this is the pattern. It was done in DMC suggested colors and Kreinik blending filament. And it was all done the way that it was charted. I made no color changes to that one whatsoever. So the Kreinik in the crown, the Kreinik in the wings. There's some here in the trim on the dresses. It's all the called for colors from that pattern. And that was the first square. The second square is the Windermere by MarBek Windermere Angel. It was done on 18 count because this one was a larger pattern. So in order to make it fit on the square, I had to use 18 count. And this is the Windermere Angel. Again, it was done with all the suggested DMC and Kreinik. I'm not sure if it's showing very well, but in her cape here, in the ribbon on her dress, in her wings, is all got Krynic in the pattern for that one. So that's number 2 square, and it was the Windermere Angel. Number 3 square is from Black Swan. It was the Morning Glory Angel. And this is her. She was done with, let's see, I didn't write it down. I thought I had. Let me just double check here. I believe she is done with 16 count waste canvas, all in the suggested colors from the chart. The Black Swan does not use Krynic, so there's no Krynic in her. Well, no, I take that back. There's a little bit of Krynic in her sleeves. It's not gonna, maybe it'll show up a little bit. There's a little bit in her sleeves right here, but not in the wings and not in her crown. So that was angel or square number 3 by Black Swan. Square number 4, we're back with the MarBek Angels. This, I'm not sure if this one is my favorite, but it's got to be in the top 3 of the ones that I did for this project. It's, well, I'll just show it to you. It's a gorgeous one. It's called Starlight, and it's on 18 count waist. And that's done. And you can see in her wings, in the stars, on her sleeves. That's all the Krynic blending filament that I used. And then there's also some silver. It's not a ribbon. Now, this was back before I was keeping records of exactly what I was using, but I do remember it's not a ribbon, but it's a thick cord that was called for to make the star here in her hair, and also these lines running down on her sleeve. That is also the heavier corded metallic, but it's all done in the colors that were suggested by the pattern, and it is called Starlight. Now, number 5 is another MarBek. It is the Baroque, Baroque, Baroque Angel. Sorry, keep saying it over and over. Sooner or later, I guess I figure that I'll say it properly. This one is done on 14 count waste canvas, and I changed the colors of her dress. She was more pink, and as I told you, my daughter's favorite color is purple. So I made the changes to her dress to make her more purple, and then I added these musical notes above her to just kind of fill it was kind of looking a little blank above her. So to kind of fill in the top of the square, I added those music notes. She has the Krynic in her crown, on her wings, in the bottom of her dress, the trim on the bottom of her dress. So, yeah, that is let's see. That's number 5. That's square number 5. Square number 6. Square number 6. Oh, this. The reason I put this one on the quilt is when I found this pattern, it was what inspired me to look for more angels so that I could actually do this quilt for her. This was a Mary Maxim kit. She's called Emerald Angel. And I used all the floss and all the DMC metallics. This is when I discovered how bad I disliked DMC metallic, because working on it with this was terrible. Thank goodness for at that time you could still get it, the Thread Heaven conditioner for your threads, because without that I'm not sure I could have finished this this pattern, because Mary Maxim used DMC floss and DMC metallics, and it was they're the worst. I do not like them at all. I will use Krynic or oh, there goes my brain, not remembering words. I can't think of the other metallic that I like to use, but I'll use anything except for DMC metallic. I just do not like it at all. So, there's my rant over. Number 7 is another MarBek. This this pattern came with 2 angels on it. The Christmas angel, which is this one. She was a small pattern, so in order to get her to cover a good portion of the square, I used 10 count waist canvas in order to get her the size. Oh, the Baroque angel was also done with 10 count, because she was another really small. No, I'm sorry. She was not 10 count. She was 14 count. This one is 10 count. I'm so confused. Like I said, this was before I was keeping track of material, threads, and different things. So I had to look at the square and then try to take myself back. This has been, well, I finally finished it in 2006. And it was at least 15 years before that I was doing each of these squares to put together for this quilt. So, you know, it was back in the 90s, late 80s, 90s. So anyway, this one is done all in the called for colors. My daughter liked the kind of, she called it boho style of the angel, and all the bright colors. And did I tell you that she is called the Christmas angel? The next one is a black swan, and the reason that I did this one is my daughter's favorite flowers are pansies. She loves them. So I found that, and the shirt that the angel is wearing is in purple. So between the two of them, that is why this one was chosen and why I used it. Now I did change a little bit here in the pattern. she is holding a paint palette and she is painting a butterfly. Well, it just, I don't know, it just didn't look right after I had done it. So I tore that out and I found a different butterfly, a smaller one, and I put that in her hand, and then I just put a little, like a flower. I just created a tiny little flower for her to be holding and then touching the butterfly. But for whatever reason, it just, I don't know. The way that the chart was with the waste canvas, it just wasn't coming out right. So I made that change. And in her, here on her sleeves, is some metallic, and in her wing, there is some metallic. So she's got a little bit of that. But this is Black Swan's Pansy Angel. And that is number 8. Yes, number 8. So turn the page here. We are going back to the MarBek Angels. This one is called the Arcadian Angel. She was done on 16 count canvas. And this is her. The original pattern called for this to be a different color, but in keeping with the theme of doing purples, I changed the ribbon and the trim on her dress and made them purple. But everything else is done as charted by or suggested by the pattern. And she's another very pretty one that I like. She's not one of my top 3, but she's I would say in the top 5 of my favorites that I did for this. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I've got a tickle in my throat. Number 10, MarBek Star Angel. This one is another one done on the 10 count, and she is the second pattern that was in the pamphlet with the Christmas angel. She is done, she's done all in the called for DMC except for her star. I had some satin floss in my stash, and I wanted to give the star a little bit more sheen than the rest of her. So the star that she is holding is all done in satin flosses, but the rest of her is done as suggested by the chart. And she is the MarBek Star Angel that is the companion piece to MarBek's Christmas Angel. This one was done early on in my stitching. So at that time, I wasn't confident enough to make the color changes, or else I would have made her purple. But like I said, this was one of the first ones that I did, and my confidence level was not at a point where I thought I could make these changes. So this one is all charted, or all is stitched as suggested by the chart, and she is called our Victorian Angel. And her light is all in Krynic. She's got some Krynic here in her hair and on her wings. There's some in the shawl that she is holding. There's some Krynic in there. So there's a lot of shimmer and shine to her. And she was done on 16 count waste canvas. Now, I always have a hard time picking my number one favorite, but I'm thinking that this is number one. And she is the Woodland, MarBek's Woodland Angel. She is completely stitched as suggested by the chart. The colors are just so beautiful. I love fall colors. I love these greens and tans and just everything about the fall colors. Just, they're so gorgeous. The Krynic is in her hair, of course, along the trim of her cape, in her wings, and in the trim on her dress. And then this is gold ribbon that was suggested. I do not believe this was a Krynic product. In my mind, I'm not remembering it as a Krynic ribbon. It might have been, but I don't think so. And it just sets off the piece so nicely. So yeah, I think this is probably number one favorite of all of the patterns that I did. And that was number 12, and she was done on 18 count. Oh, excuse me. She was done on 18 count waist. This one, she is the Janlynn. She was a Janlynn kit Stoney Creek angel, and she is called Christmas Snow Angel. She's so Stoney Creek. You know, if you know anything about the Stoney Creek patterns, you can just see the softness and just, that's what Stoney Creek is all about. And I do love Stoney Creek. It's one of my favorite designer of patterns. I go back to a lot of Stoney Creek. I'm using Stoney Creek in the Afghan that I'm making for my granddaughter. I like that style. It's almost like Norman Rockwell-ish to me, and I really like it. So she was put on there. Just by the time I got to her, my daughter was telling me was picking the patterns that she wanted me to stitch in order to add to the quilt. So this was one of the ones that she asked for. And because of the roses and because of the softness of this one, I did not make any changes to it. I thought about it, but I decided it really was not something that I was comfortable making changes with. So you've seen my number one favorite. I told you that the Starlight Angel was in the top 3. This one is going to be the other one in the top 3. Between Starlight and this one, I can't decide if she's 2 or it's kind of a tie. So, but this is the third in the top 3 that I did. And this one is called Snow Angel. And I love it so much because my favorite color is green. And I love the shading of the green in her cape. The softness of her dress. The little rabbit here. The sparrows. I mean, it's It's a very delicate, very tranquil pattern. And it was really fun to work on. It was just, and I'm sure it was because the colors. I always enjoy working on something green because of the fact that it is my favorite color. So that is one of the reasons, I'm sure, why it's right up there with the others in that. That was MarBek Snow Angel, and she was stitched on 18 count. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Let's go back for a moment, folks, because where is she? This little sweetheart back here, that one right there, that is done on 22 count in order to make it so she would fit on the same size squares as the other angels. 22 count waist canvas. I probably spent as much time looking for that size waist canvas as I did stitching her. Even back when I was doing this and waist canvas was a lot more popular and there was a lot more of it out there and available, it was almost impossible to find a 22 count. But that was the size I needed to make her fit. So, just a fun little factoid for you there. Now this one, I didn't like stitching her. I didn't like the way she came out. I really didn't like a whole lot about her. However, this was another one that my daughter just adored. She liked the colors. She liked everything about it. I do not like her. She is stitched on 10 count waist canvas. She is called the Tapestry Angel by MarBek. And yeah, she's tapestry, all right. But I redid her face so many times that I thought I was going to tear the stinking threads out underneath her. But no matter what I did, I could not get her face to look right. And I just did not like her. But my daughter did. And being that this is her quilt, you know, you got to go with what the person that's receiving it likes. Sometimes you just got to bite that bullet and go for it. I didn't like her. Not at all. So anyway, that was number 15, the Tapestry Angel by MarBek, stitched on 10 count. Yeah. So we're getting to the end here. This is number 16. It is the Renaissance Angel by MarBek. And the colors are changed. She was, I think, in reds. And she was one of the later ones, the ones towards the end that I did. And I felt much more comfortable with changing my colors and doing the shading and all that kind of stuff. So this one is not, it's DMC and Kreinik, but it is not the colors that were suggested by the pattern maker. And you'll see the Kreinik in her wings, on her halo, here in her dress, the trimming on her dress, and down here. She's very pretty. I like her too. And she was done on 14 count waist canvas. So those are the 16 squares that I did. Now, I told you that this took me 15 years to create. Well, not only with, full-time job, kids, all of that kind of stuff, there were 2 other angels from the MarBek collection that I stitched. One was the Bethany angel and one was the Coventry angel. Now, my daughter, when we were laying it out in order for me to put it together, my daughter looked at those and she just really didn't care for them. They were not, I don't know if it was color, if it was just the way they looked or whatever it was. But those 2, they are stitched. I have them packed away in a box somewhere with my, they're probably the only 2 FOs that I have never FFO'd, because I've never come up with anything that I could figure out to use them for. Maybe someday I'll make a pillow and put it and add it to her quilt, as just, throw it with the quilt or whatever. But if she doesn't like them, she's not going to want that. So I'll have to figure out something else. But those other 2 were also stitched but never used in the quilt. So I'm gonna readjust my camera so that I can stand up and I can show you a full picture of the finished quilt. So give me just a second, please. Okay, so forgive me if this is a little bit wobbly, but the only way I could make this work was by laying it on the ground and filming it this way. This quilt fits a queen-size bed. The stars that you see that I did on 4 of the squares, that pattern is called the puzzle star. And my daughter does love stars, so that was why those were added to this quilt. But that is the quilt in its entirety. That is my quilt that I wanted to share with you. You might have noticed that my lighting has changed because as I was filming, we had a storm come in, so my lighting has somewhat changed from the start of this video where we had some sunshine. But just to wrap up the information on the quilt, it is hand quilted around each one of the angels so that the quilting wouldn't go through it and distort the stitching that I had spent so much time on. So each angel and each star is hand quilted, and then I put it together and sewed it, sewed the binding and all that onto it. So it is 100% done by me. I didn't send it to anyone for the quilting. It was all hand done. So that took about, once I got it together and got it on my quilting frame and everything, the actual quilting took about 3 months to complete in order for me to be satisfied with how it looked and what I had done with it. So this is another gift that I made for my daughter. She, for 10 years, was a baker and did cake decorating and cookies and all the things in a baking shop that you can imagine. When she was going to school to learn how to do the specialty stuff that you see in different cakes and whatnot, she had a lot of books and stuff that she needed to carry with her. So I made her a tote bag, and the pattern is Dictionary of Cakes. It's got fruit cake, upside down cake, cake walk, rock cake, short cake. What's this one? Layer cake, sponge cake, cupcakes, and piece of cake. And this, oh, where's my, there it is. This was a Bothy Threads Dictionary of Cakes pattern. It is stitched on 14 count Aida. And then it was turned into this cute little tote bag with the puzzle, the star puzzle squares. 2 previous finishes that I wanted to share with you. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. I hope I inspired you to maybe use some of your FFOs in a different way. You know, make them into a tote bag, make them into a quilt. Do something a little bit different with your finishes so that they're not just stuck in a drawer somewhere waiting to come out and show you what a great job you did with the stitching on them. So enjoy your day, enjoy your stitching, and I'll see you in a couple weeks with a true floss tube with some whips and some new starts and that kind of thing. Have a nice day, and thank you for joining me. Goodbye.